of negotiations, I want to begin by thanking our Senate colleagues who've really worked well with us to try to come up with a package that we are really proud of today. Today we are proud to announce that we have reached agreement on doubling the size of Governor Walker's tax reduction. So all totaled, when you add in the manufacturing tax credit that was passed in the last budget that's going to be implemented in this session, in addition to the income tax cuts that we've agreed to, there will be almost $1 billion in tax reductions because of the actions of the legislature last session and this. I think that when we look at what Wisconsin needs to keep growing jobs, we know that having a reduced tax burden on Wisconsin's families is one of the keys to making our state more successful. I think that the tax package we were able to negotiate is exactly what Wisconsin needs. It focuses the vast majority of efforts on the middle class, but what it also does is it simplifies our tax code. I want to specifically call and thank my colleague Representative Koinga, who has worked very hard to put together a tax package and simplification, taking ideas from both the Senate and the Assembly, but working together. He was definitely the lead and deserves the bulk of the credit for putting together a lot of the ideas that we discussed over the course of the past several days. So with that, I want to turn over to my Senate colleagues, and I'm sure they'd like to comment as well.
Yeah, I'll echo what Robin said. I think that we worked hard to try and build and increase the amount of tax cuts. And with the ongoing package that was part of the original Walker budget, and with the increase or the original package that Governor Walker came up with on income tax cuts, and then adding even more to that, that $1 billion figure, which we're very close to, I think is kind of an amazing feat, and look forward to passing it through both houses.
What I think is significant too is, as Representative Koinga recommended, collapsing two of the tax brackets and reducing every one of the tax brackets, so it sends a message to all of our taxpayers throughout the state that we are serious about reducing the tax burden, and we significantly are reducing the tax rates in the middle class, which I think is really good news.
Well, I guess I would just say I think it kind of reiterates what the decisions we've made over the last few years. Sometimes when you make the tough decisions, you may question them at the time, but those decisions that we made 2 years ago, a $3.6 billion deficit, put us in a position now where we can be returning between decisions of last budget and this budget nearly $1 billion to the taxpayers of Wisconsin. I think that's something the citizens should be excited about. I think it's going to help grow our economy and get more and more jobs starting in our state.
Right, and in addition to returning money back to families all across Wisconsin, we are also proud to announce that we're going to be increasing funding for public schools all across the state. We know, and we have heard from people not just at the public hearings, but from our own districts, that now that we saw that our changes to the way state government operates are working, we've been able to generate a surplus. The bulk of that is going to go back to taxpayers, as we mentioned, but we also want to prioritize our other single biggest priority in this budget, and that's public schools. When we look at what we're able to do, we'll be able to see an increase of $150 per pupil in each of the next 2 years. It's the request that came forward from a whole lot of people all around the state as we were able to put that package together. We also see that we're able to give additional options to kids throughout the state in 2 different ways. Number one, we have reached an agreement on a statewide school choice expansion, similar to what you have seen in some of the media reports. We are able to give an increase to those kids who are in schools today, who are getting a good education outside the public schools. But we also are able to do something different as well for kids who are already in traditional private schools. We are going to make tuition paid at any private school tax deductible. That's a fairly important change. We want to give as many options to parents as possible. When we look at it, the vast majority will still go to public schools just like I did, and that's why we make the largest investment in education in this budget in the public schools, no doubt about it. But in addition to that, we want to give options to families with the ability to deduct their tuition on their taxes, and also more choices by having that statewide school choice expansion that we've seen reported.
I think the other thing to just talk briefly about is that moving into the next biennium, we anticipate that this budget will be fully balanced and will also remain intact as far as both rainy day fund and a statutory balance. So we're in real good shape and met the goals that we had coming into this budget as well.
So what is the price tag? I mean, Walker's $343 to start, they bumped it up by $5 million, $348, so are you at $700 million in for an income tax cut? Is that the price tag we're talking
The
about?
total reduction, it's not just focused on only income taxes, that's where the bulk of it goes.
Okay.
But it is approximately $330 million. 333, something like that. So it's almost doubling because Governor Walker was
Right.
340.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I think has been lost kind of in the discussion is that we also are adopting all of the ongoing tax cuts, and some of those are reversals of tax increases that happened in previous bienniums that also is part of this discussion. And I think it has been something that's been kind of lost in the shuffle, just focusing on the income tax cuts, when you also have these ongoing cuts that were made by Governor Walker and are also being adopted by the committee as well.
So you're lowering rates in all 5 brackets, are you squishing the
The third and fourth.
third and fourth?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but there is a reduction in each one.
Every one of them, which is
Brackets.
significant.
That's a big change. As you know, Governor Walker had reductions in the first 3. Representative Koinga had reductions for the top 3. And what we're doing is there's a reduction in every single bracket. So no matter what you earn in Wisconsin, as long as you're paying income taxes, you will see a tax reduction based on the actions we're gonna take today.
And the biggest part would be that collapsing the third and fourth, and those would be the middle class, but also the job creators, the small business people who pay their bills out of their income, out of their checkbook. And I think that's good news, that those small business people have said, you know, we need help with this tax burden, and they're gonna be getting it.
Representative Koinga, one of his main initiatives too was also simplifying the tax code, looking for ways to just simply reduce the number of pages in a return was a goal of his, and that's something that we're going to be taking steps towards correcting that this time. But I also want to point out, this is just one step in a long-term process of not only tax simplification, but tax reductions that we'd like to see as we move forward in the legislature in the next several sessions.
Of the $289 million takes to pay for $150 each year, how much of that is GPR, how much of it is property taxes?
My understanding is that, I think that's all GPR.
Yeah, it's all GPR.
Our budget also continues the basic freeze that we enacted in the last budget with a property tax increase of 1% or less. So we are definitely focused on keeping
Or
property
less than
taxes down too.
1%.
Right.
So it's good news.
Will there be changes to this budget that comes out of finance that any of the senators?
Well, the Assembly takes it up first, and we have been working incredibly hard with all 60 of our members. I feel quite confident that we'll be able to get more than 50 votes. I'm really optimistic about getting 60, but I don't think we're gonna need to make changes because all the members have been involved in the process right here at Joint Finance.
Anything change the voucher plan besides upping the voucher amounts?
Well, the eligibility,
Yeah.
the eligibility was,
185.
it was at 300, now it's at 185. I mean, we heard the criticism.
No, I heard the package that was talked about last week, anything change significantly from that besides the size of the vouchers?
There's more, I don't know where you were at or when you kind of jumped in on it, but there is more money added to the second year of the choice schools, both in Milwaukee and in Racine.
And we added more, an upper for high schools, because high schools cost more than elementaries, and in order to get more high schools into the program, that allocation was increased.
But unlike the first reports, we did follow what Governor Walker did, where there's no increase in the first year of the biennium for choice schools, and there's an increase only in the second year.
Yeah.
That is in contrast with what we're doing for public schools, where they're getting an increase in both years of the biennium. Choice students are only getting the second year.
And did you guys do the funding flaw in the package for choice?
Yes.
Yeah, it's part of it. I mean, it is something that we kind of discussed and made a decision to move towards in this biennium addressing that, and we hope that we can continue that trend.
And significantly, it's, there won't be a flaw prospectively for the out-state choice people who enter the program. So
Right.
they won't have to deal with
Because it's
that.
categorical A.
Yeah, it's
Right, as choice
categorical.
expands, it'll be 100% GPR funded. Unlike the program as it was first developed in Milwaukee, where it was a split between property taxes and between GPR. So as the senators mentioned, we have built in a program similar to the one that was recommended to us by advocates in Milwaukee, to say that over the course of, we hope, 12 years, They'll be able to have basically one new grade a year in essence, which will be paid for out of this new categorical, so that property tax, which I, you know, whether it's a flaw or not, but the property tax situation in Milwaukee will also be remedied over the long haul.
Is the
Another
1,000
change.
I'm sorry, is the 1,000 enrollment cap set?
The 500
500,000, 1,000
500,
consistent,
1,000,
right.
yes. And another thing that will happen is for, prospectively, for charter and choice, not only were there increases, but the increases in the future will be tied to the increases in K-12 or the system.
So our goal is to have all schools, be they charter, choice, or public, getting the same per pupil increase beginning of the next biennium. So that way, it doesn't matter what school you go to, but hopefully you'll be able to see the same resources.
The
Governor
Senate
Walker wanted
did-
to expand it in 9 school districts. Is it just going to be in Milwaukee and Racine, or what about Sheboygan, Fond du Lac,
Oh, this is a
Green Bay?
statewide
Statewide.
This will
expansion.
be, it's
It's
statewide,
statewide.
this will be statewide.
The Senate didn't get a chance to answer about whether they would make changes. I didn't want you to feel left out.
No, the goal on, since day one, has been that the finance package is the package that we ultimately vote on.
So no changes.
No, that's our goal.
You guys reach agreement to wrap up the motion on the pilot program for bail bonds,
Mhm.
Yeah, there's other items.
such as?
Such as.
Well,
Wait,
it's
to
a big
be
motion.
posted.
waiting a while.
We've been
Yeah.
waiting.
All right, thank you everyone, thanks everyone, let's
Thank
get us going.
Thank you.